Hello and happy 2026. Whether 2025 was an amazing year for you and you were so excited to look ahead to 2026, or whether 2025 was a really tough year for you and you just couldn't wait for it to be over, I really hope that you've been able to get some rest over these holidays and that the new year is off to a peaceful start for you. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely fall into the latter camp where 2025 was a really challenging year for me. And by the last couple weeks of the year, I was like, I just cannot wait for this year to be over. And so even though January 1st is something of an arbitrary day, I am feeling refreshed, renewed. I am really excited to be in a new year, and I thought that that made today the perfect day to put out the final video in my 1 year of project panning series. I've been putting out weekly videos for the last month or so talking about my experience of doing a project pan for all of 2025. You can definitely go back and check out those previous videos where I talked about the progress that I was able to make with the project, the number of items I was able to use up, the amount of money I saved, kind of what my current collection looks like. But today I wanted to go a little deeper and really talk about some of the unexpected byproducts of the project pan, because the more I was reflecting on it, the more I was realizing this might sound a little overblown, but project panning actually kind of changed my life in 2025, and it is really making me look at 2026 very differently. And a lot of these things were things I wasn't planning for or wasn't really expecting when I started the project. So I wanted to share them today. And I also wanted to hear from you if you have done a project pan, if you have done a low buy or no buy year, if you have experienced some of these same changes, because I guess I was just a little surprised at how far reaching the impacts of doing the project were. I kind of kept thinking, Kate, it's just a project pan. It's just makeup. Like, it's not that deep. It actually is that deep. And I'm really excited to go through a number of the different things that I observed. The first thing I found is that I genuinely no longer want to buy beauty or skincare or makeup products. And I don't even want to invest in personal care in the same way. And I think this is particularly interesting because earlier in 2025, I actually started a personal care sinking fund. And I started setting this money aside in this dedicated savings fund because I'm in my late 30s now, I'm 38. And I thought I wanted to start investing in some services like, maybe getting Botox, maybe getting my eyebrows done, maybe eyelash tinting, just investing more in beauty procedures as I'm getting older. And what I find so fascinating is that, as I've just been organically going through the year and organically doing the project pan, is that I am just way less interested in that stuff. And I'm still not even exactly sure why. If anything, I thought actually the project might kind of renew my interest in makeup and skincare and beauty, but I've actually found the exact opposite. As I'm using products up, it's really forcing me to question kind of like my relationship with all of these items, my relationship with my hair, my skin, my body, my appearance. And it's really actually made me almost kind of like subconsciously push back on some of my very deeply internalized feelings about beauty and beauty standards. And I think it's really just actually making me realize that these things are a lot less important to me than I thought. And that's not to say that I'll never get any of these procedures done. I still may at some point, and I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with people getting whatever beauty procedures they want. Like, I'm very pro do whatever you want. If you want Botox, if you want fillers, do what it is that you can afford and that makes you happy. All in support of that. I've just found that my personal attachment to pursuing those kinds of beauty services has just really tapered and almost disappeared completely doing a project pan. And I don't think this even applies just to beauty procedures, but also to makeup, hair care, skincare in general. Like, there are so many products that previously in my life I never would have thought of as optional. Like, mascara has never felt optional to me. Foundation has never felt optional to me. And now that I am actually starting a new project pan at the start of 2026, I did decide to start a new project and continue panning this year. So I'm really excited for that, because one of the big realizations I've had is maybe I'm just not a mascara person. Maybe I'm just someone who is never going to wear foundation. Maybe I'm just not someone who uses eyeliner. And it's just so interesting because of how strong social messaging is, advertising, how much pressure there is, and how much attention is paid to beauty standards, especially for women. Even a couple years ago, like, I never would have thought of any of those products as optional. I always just bought eyeliner. I always just bought mascara. I always just bought foundation. And I didn't even think twice about it. I always just thought, oh, these are things I need, so I'm going to buy them. And now for the first time in my life, I'm actually pausing because there probably are a couple products that I'm going to need to throw out at the start of my 2026 project. Like things like eyeliner and mascara that are, expired, and just like, I don't want to give myself an eye infection. And so when I get rid of those things, I'm really debating not replacing them. at all. And maybe just seeing how the year goes and seeing how I feel without them. And if I really feel the urge to buy that product at some point, like I'm not on a no buy year or anything like that. I'm not on a buying ban. I would allow myself to buy the product if and when the time came that I really find myself wanting it. Then yeah, it's not about depriving myself of this thing that I want. It's more just about actually reflecting on, is this even a thing that I want? And I don't think until 2025 I had ever stopped to ask myself that question. So I think it's just been really fascinating and really powerful to see how the Project Pan has really changed my relationship with beauty standards, and really made me question a lot of my own beliefs about what it is I need and what it is I want to do for my own physical appearance. The second thing I've noticed, and this is something of a continuation from the first one, but I just have a better relationship with my appearance and with aging in general than I did at the start of the project. I think because I was stuck in this cycle of buying products, and especially with skincare, really feeling like I needed a million different products, I needed a million different serums, I needed all the different kinds of actives, and I needed to do everything I possibly could to reduce every line and reduce every small sign of aging. And the goal always felt like it was to preserve my appearance, to make myself look as youthful as possible, and to retain as much of my younger appearance as possible. And now that I've been using things up and not replacing them, or replacing them a lot more slowly, like I went without a vitamin C serum for a few months. I also completely used up my hyaluronic acid serum and just didn't replace it. There have been quite a few skincare products especially that I've been using up and really pausing to think about replacing, and just sort of like questioning the need for them. And I think as I've been doing that, it's really actually just fostering a better relationship with my appearance, a lot more acceptance with the fact that I don't look the way I did when I was 30. I don't look the way I did when I was 23. And I'm actually starting to really view that as a positive thing. I think it's one of those really funny things. Like, I really love the appearance of aging on other people. I think other people as they age are absolutely beautiful, absolutely stunning. And then it's this interesting challenge, because when you start seeing those same signs on your own face, that can be really confronting, and maybe you don't have the same appreciation for it. And that's definitely something I've struggled with. But I think over the last year, I've really just been leaning so much more into, you're in your late 30s and you look the way you look. And of course, you can still take care of your skin. And there are still things you might want to do to maintain the elasticity of your skin, to maintain some of the glow, to look healthy, to make sure your skin feels hydrated. But I just no longer care in the same way about trying to alleviate and remove and reduce every single tiny little sign of aging in my face. I just don't care about it anymore in the same way. So I think that's also been a really nice, kind of unexpected result of doing the Project Pan. The third thing I've noticed is that not only do I have a reduced interest in buying like beauty and makeup and skincare, I have much less interest in buying anything. I have had so much less interest this year in buying clothing, in buying household items, decor, knickknacks, candles. There are just so many things now that I feel so much less of an impulse for. And I really think that is because of the project. Because I have forced myself to so intentionally interact with my belongings in this one area in my life where I'm really forcing myself to use things up, I've kind of started like applying that same mindset to other areas in my life. And I was actually thinking about making a video talking about how I'm trying to Project Pan other things in my house. So let me know if you'd be interested in a follow-up video about that. But I think I really have ended up applying low or no buy guidelines to a lot of other parts of my life because of the project. And I did make a video last year about things I was no longer buying in 2025. And I'm still debating making up a follow-up to that video and kind of reflecting on it, talking about if I actually followed those guidelines, what I didn't buy, what I did buy. But I think just generally speaking, it was pretty successful because I just don't feel the impulse anymore. And if anything, buying new things, especially if I already own some of that thing, like if I buy a new candle when I already have 5 candles, it actually just feels heavy. It kind of just makes it feel like junk. And I think that mindset has been fostered so much by doing the Project Pan and just realizing the true lifespan of our products. Like realizing how long it takes to use a tube of concealer has also made me realize how long it takes to burn a candle. One candle. You know, a lot of candles have lifespans of like 50 plus hours. And I don't know about you, but I don't burn candles all the time. I burn them now and then. And so candles last me years. And I think coming to that realization about myself has really just made me pump the brakes in spending and consuming in so many other areas of my life, and it has been the most wonderful thing. The fourth thing that I've noticed is that doing the Project Pan has slowly built my confidence and it is showing me to trust myself again. And that might sound a little strange, but I think the easiest way to explain this is that 2024 and 2025 both were pretty difficult years. And I think because of that, I really stumbled. I really stumbled in a big way with a lot of my, habits, a lot of my wellness, taking care of myself. I just really struggled. And I was in a pretty dark spot for a lot of the last 2 years, to be honest. I had stretches where I was doing better, but my mental health really suffered. And I was really in a hole for, I would say, months at a time. And this really caused me to neglect myself. I really wasn't exercising in the way that I used to. I was eating much worse than usual. I was drinking more alcohol. I was using nicotine again, which is something that, I had successfully kicked years and years ago. There were a lot of things that really slid. And I really felt like because I was in such a dark place, I just couldn't pull myself out. You have to be mentally well enough or in a good enough place to start doing the things that you should do to take care of yourself. And that's the real cruelty of depression. You have to be at a certain level of wellness in order to exercise, go outside, go for a walk, shower, and take care of yourself, to clean your home. And those things do all help your mental health, but you already have to be well enough to do those things. And I was just in a place for a lot of the last 2 years where doing even those basic things felt really, really hard. And the Project Pan, even though I in no way linked it to mental health or taking care of myself when I started it, I really just thought it would be a fun project and it would help me declutter a bit, and that was about it. I have found that having this consistent project to work on throughout the year and achieving some of my goals in that area and reducing my consumption and decluttering the house a little bit, all of these things have shown me like, hey, you can do this thing. If you set out this challenge or this project for yourself, you can do it and you can stick to it for an entire year. And I think that has actually had a really important domino effect on other parts of my life, because as I was getting momentum with the project, I also just noticed that I was naturally doing other things to take care of myself more. It kind of got me back into habit tracking because I was tracking all my beauty uses and things like that. It just kind of got me back into this mindset where I was like, oh yeah, I really like this. This is fun. It's fun to measure things and it kind of gamifies the experience. So I got back much more consistently into taking my meds and flossing and drinking my water and stretching and doing all of these other small acts of wellness. And silly as it might sound, I actually think it was doing the Project Pan that started to build that momentum for me. And I think this is actually a really nice lesson overall, because I think sometimes when we want to change our lives and we want to change our habits, we're so directive at just trying to force ourselves to do the thing, okay, let's say we want to take better care of our health. It's like, okay, I'm going to force myself to work out 4 days a week. Okay, I'm going to force myself to go on this diet. I just need to do these things. I need to follow the plan. I just need to be more disciplined. And the thing is, that doesn't work a lot of the time. But can we think about ways of just creating an environment where you can be more successful, or perhaps introducing smaller micro habits that might set you up to be more successful? Because that's what it really was for me. The Project Pan was just a way of habit stacking. It's oh, well, if I'm already tracking all of this other stuff, if I'm tracking my lipstick uses, why wouldn't I just measure some of the other things in my life that are also important? And it just sort of gave me something to stack those little tiny good habits on top of. And I think sometimes that can be way more effective at improving your life, is just giving yourself a small, manageable challenge and showing yourself that you can do these things, showing yourself that if you commit to a no spend week or a low buy month, and then you actually do that, I think that can be more powerful in building up that trust with yourself again and just showing yourself hey, I can do hard things. That's probably going to be more powerful in terms of moving the needle on your other goals, your other habits, taking care of yourself, than, just trying to be really hard on yourself and just try to force yourself into, starting on January 1st, now you're following this really strict diet, you're working out all the time. So I don't know, that was totally unexpected, but for me, I found that the Project Pan was kind of like a gateway drug into really improving and changing other parts of my life as well. I think another thing that the project has done is that it has just given me a renewed interest and motivation to declutter more broadly. And I really feel like doing the Project Pan for the last year has slowly built me to this place where I finally feel like 2026 is the year that I'm ready to stop carrying all of this. That I'm finally feeling actually able to let go. And decluttering has always felt so hard. You know, it's really hard for me to let go of things. And I think it's for a ton of reasons. I think some of it goes back to childhood. I think some of it is even just things that have happened more recently, things that have happened in the last 5 years. But I do just find it really hard to let go of things. And now I feel like I'm finally at a point where the pain of holding on to all of this stuff that I've been carrying is exceeding the comfort or safety or whatever it is that keeping all of this stuff affords me. And I think ultimately that's when we all can finally make changes in our life, right? Is when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing. And 2026, for the first time, I would say in probably about 6 years, where I feel ready. And not only do I feel ready, but I actually feel so excited. I am full of anticipation of what this year will bring. I am so full of anticipation of what another year of project panning and decluttering will do for me. It is just making me feel so much lighter, so much more expansive. You know, I think I really started with doing the project, started asking questions like, what would your life look like if your beauty collection was half the size, if you used, half the products that you currently do? And then you start expanding that question to other parts of your life. Like, what if my wardrobe were cut in half? What if I owned 50% fewer items? How would life feel? How would life change? And maybe for you, the answer is a net negative. Maybe you already love most or all of the things that you have, which is amazing, and in which case you've made it. But I don't feel that way. I still look at a lot of the things around my home and it makes me feel heavy. It makes me feel overwhelmed. It makes me feel like I can't use my space for the things that are actually important to me. It makes me feel scattered and panicked. And so for me, I still have a lot of work to do in this area. And I think project panning has really, slowly done the work of shifting my mindset to finally being ready. And as we're coming to the end here, I think that's really the main thing I want to express is just that the project pan has given me so much relief. It has made me feel so much lighter, and it is making things feel easier. Like I can see myself moving towards a version of myself where I have a much simpler morning routine, a much simpler evening routine, where I have so many fewer items cluttering my bathroom countertops and my cabinets. It has already just given me so much relief. And I think it's that feeling that has really made me want to continue in 2026, because I really want this year to be the year where I really make the final big dent on my collection, where I really only have a select handful of things that I love and use all the time, where I don't just feel scattered and overwhelmed by my own belongings all the time. I really think 2026 is going to be an amazing year for not reaching some perfect end goal. These things are always a work in progress. But 2026 feels like the year where I'm finally ready. And I don't think I could say that last year or the year before. So doing the project pan for a year has already given me so much lightness, so much relief, and I can't wait to see what happens in 2026. I'm so excited. Please consider subscribing if you would like to follow along. I will be continuing to document the journey, and I would love to have you here for that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon on the next one. Bye.